Iha, did you bring your notes?
Yes, but if I'm using the hand to hold it, how am I gonna? Yeah, so listen, this is a big book, okay? I still haven't finished it because this is the slowest I've ever read.
Are
I've
you
never,
serious?
huh?
This is the slowest?
This is the slowest I've ever read because I have a lot of things going on,
Mm.
and I had a book that I was finishing up. But yeah, I came to the end, so I kind of know why you like the dog. But we can discuss like book by book if you want. Like we can discuss the first book, and then we can do the second book another time.
Well,
What do you want?
I love the dog because of what happened at the very end, but I don't want to spoil it for you since you haven't finished it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of know why,
I,
but
I
yeah.
mean, you haven't finished it yet, so you might not know. You might not know yet.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's like at the very end. So
Yeah.
I wrote down some notes. If you wrote down some notes, we can bounce back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
What's
will start with the first pages because I have the book and I just marked on the book. I don't have the notes
okay?
in another book.
So what stuck out to you?
What stuck out to me on the first, mm, let me see. I don't know how to pronounce the names, by the way. Jola? How do
Mm.
you pronounce it? Yeah, okay. So I liked Jola's story, you know. Let me see. Yeah. So in the beginning, when his brother is warning him about the weather, what did you think of that scene?
Right. You know, we hear a lot of warnings about the weather. Like, actually, they say that the author
Hmm.
she she patterned the book or kind of fictionalized or fantasized the book off of uh, climate change. You know,
Mm.
all the stuff that we hear about climate change. So this is kind of like an exaggerated or kind of blown out of proportion. Like what could happen, or like a what if, or a maybe,
Mm.
scenario. What would we do if we were thrown up against this type of situation and there was no antidote, no cure or no master of poisons to
Interesting.
guide us out, you know?
It
So it's
makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. It makes sense. I was just talking to myself.
Yeah, you know. So, their family, him and his
Hmm.
brother family. So you're never really like a prophet in your own home, they say. People rarely listen to you when they know all about you,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And that's been the case with me as well. When I've been with family members or when I've been with my parents or when I've been with folks that love you dearly, you try to warn them about things or you try to tell them about things and they're like, "What do you know? What do you know that I don't know?" Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I love that. It makes sense to me now that she was inspired by the climate change.
Yeah.
To just find that cure for
Right.
the climate change. It makes sense. Yeah.
So that
Thank you for telling me that. I marked here when Noor, the brother, was saying, oh no, when Jola was saying, "We are the weather." Your words, brother. So what did you think of that
yeah,
when he said, "We are the weather"?
they had so many sayings. I think that might have been one of the Zamanzi sayings. Zamanzi,
Mm-hmm.
because the different tribes, the Damanzi, the Lahesh, and the Anawanama, they had so many different sayings with their language and it would mean different things.
Mm-hmm.
So like when they said we are the weather, you know, I like that because it's almost like we shape things. Like there's a recurring theme in the book on the imagination, the mind, and the stories that we tell. Not only the stories we tell others, but the stories we tell ourselves. And that stories can actually be magical, but they can be powerful tools for
Mm-hmm.
change. Like we can change the future with our stories. So sometimes when I would hear things like "we are the weather," a phrase like that, it would say like we shape. Like have you ever heard the saying, "Okay, the storm knocked," or something like that, or "fear knocked." There was a storm, something knocked, and then faith. Yeah, fear knocked and said a storm is coming. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Fear, a storm is coming. And then faith opened the door. Faith answered and said, "I am the storm."
Oh,
Right?
I love that.
So that's kind of how I like seeing these passages. You know, like we shape the future, we change.
I love that. I love that. And you know the thing that you said about us making our own stories.
Hmm.
Yeah, that that also stands out a lot in this book to me. Yeah. So another thing I marked was, what chance do we have if we don't risk it all? That's the kind of attitude Jola has. He can risk it all, you know? So just let's talk about his character. What do you think of his character?
It's funny because Abby Maria is saying I'm having deja vu, you know, watching this. I'm wondering what's giving her deja vu. I'm wondering. But
Yeah, please write it down. I want to know that too.
but you said what about his character
Yeah.
in particular? Like
No, I
what about
said, like, what do you think of his, like, that little thing just sums it up for me for his whole character. Like when he said, like, what chance do we have if we don't risk it all?
you know, he risks a lot. He risks, you know, seeing his family again, never knowing if he'll ever see them again, right? He risks, you know, being an outcast, being exiled. He risks all the things that people would be afraid to lose. You know, his
Hmm.
credibility, his notoriety, his reputation, his integrity, his everything. He risks losing all of that to find a solution for his people, you know,
Hmm.
for the love of the
Yeah,
people. So
that's
one of my friends used to say, like, you have to risk it to get the biscuit. They would rhyme. They would say this, like, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. Like, basically, you know, scared money doesn't make
right.
money. They would say this stuff when they were betting in like Las Vegas.
Heard that
Like,
one.
you
Yeah.
gotta, you know, you gotta put something in to get something back.
Yeah.
Like you, sometimes you have to go all in. You have to push your chips forward. You have to put it all on the line, but high risk, high reward, so to speak. Low risk, low return. So he risks to the point where he brands himself and literally he puts a fortress over his heart and his mind
Mm.
just so that he can have the proper focus and time to concentrate on finding a solution. He risks cutting himself off of the love that he feels for others,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
putting like bars on his emotions. So yeah, he risks a lot.
yeah. No, I love that, and I love that he didn't just believe in his brother, even if he had like good sense of weather. But it was like, I don't want to listen to you. Let me just follow my intuition. So I love that about him, and I capture a lot of moments where he was just taking
Right.
risk. Yeah. And yeah, what else? What else did I mark here? Yeah,
But
we go.
by the way,
Yeah.
Abby says, with you saying we tell ourselves stories, I've seen this moment before.
Ooh.
And
Okay.
bless Keisha Shaf, Keisha Shahaf says, so awesome the way you explain. Hey, blessings. Much love.
Yeah. I love the way you explain too. That's why I'm asking you questions today. You are not going to ask me questions. Not today, Jerome.
What? What? What is this? The oh,
It's your turn today, okay?
this this is not a dance. This is not a dance we're having. You said,
Yeah, but I'm leading.
oh, okay.
It could be a dance, but you know.
He's leading. It takes two to tango, but is leading. Go ahead,
Yeah.
lead us. Our
No, now we get into our dog, the other character.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the griot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the storyteller. You know, the smoke walker. We can talk about, you know, the everyday. So the book talks about the breath body and the spirit body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Talks about the everyday and the smoke land. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So would
you
you like to explain that? What is the breath body and what is the smoke body? I mean, like, breath body, and then what was it?
spirit body, the
The
spirit.
spirit body. Yeah.
So, you know, I love how you tell people and you remind us. You remind us about there's only one day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in this book, it was very cryptic in the beginning. There was like a riddle on every page for you to decipher. What is the everyday? What is the smoke land? What is the breath body? What is the spirit body? And you realize that these people are traveling dimensions. You-
Mm-hmm.
They're like dimensional travelers. They can go in and out of the physical. There's a border void that's almost like a in between space between the everyday and the smoke land. And then there's pure smokeland, when you're just in the possibility of the realm of imagination, anything goes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Anything shows in this possibility, you know? So, I love the way you talk about the times when you're in silence, the times when you can go into that space and you're a smoke walker in the everyday, you know?
That reminds me of meditation.
Right.
Every time I'm reading about, every time our goes into the smoke land or anybody goes into the smoke land, it reminds me of
Mm-hmm.
meditations. And I was wondering, like, you know how Awa always watch her mother's breath body when she goes into the
Right.
smoke land, and that was her responsibility, right? Like watch her mama's body while she's gone. I was thinking about, oh my God, when I'm meditating, if somebody could watch this body for days, I could be gone for days. It's possible, it's possible. Like, so you don't faint or whatever. But it reminded me of my meditations, where I will go into different realms and different worlds and bring back something. They will always
Mm-hmm.
bring back some information. But going into the smoke line only tells me about meditations, wandering off in your meditations. Did you get that sense?
Right, because she would bring back bees. She would bring
Mm.
back things that she would find in the smokeland. And how was that a parallel for you? What did you feel like you have brought back during some of your meditations that you didn't have
Mm.
before? In?
It's a lot. A lot. Everything that I do in my daily life, I feel like it's a information taken from different realms. You know, like everything that I speculate, things that I think about, all of that is like ideas that I've gathered from my meditations. So when I bring back, maybe they bring back, bees and they bring back, herbs and stuff like that's what her mother was doing. But for me, it's more like we bring back information, we bring back visions, you know. So yeah, a lot.
Okay. So you would say like who you are when you go into the meditation is different from who you are when you come out.
Yeah, it changes you each time.
Okay.
It changes you each time because every day it's not like, you don't go on the same journey every time. You go on a different journey. It's a different journey. Different trail has different things, right? Like they were seeing everything. Like there was a one point Awa actually left. No, she left with her body, right? So I'm thinking like it's the same thing. We can also leave with our body. That's my mission. You Go with the body and then be able to come back to it. Yeah.
The same thing happened to Yang Chen. Yang Chen and
Yeah.
Yang Chen in that book that we read before this,
Hmm.
she had gone into the spiritual world with her body, with her physical body. She took her body with her,
Yeah.
and
I
so
remember.
they had to go back. They had to get both bodies, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember that episode. That reminded me actually yeah, the Smokeland
Mhm.
chapter on here. When Awa take Bal to the Smokeland.
Right, right,
That's when she took her body, right?
right,
Yeah, because
right.
Bal was watching her breath body and she was tired of watching her breath
Mhm.
body. So this time she took her with her. Okay. Yeah, that reminds me of Yang Cheng too.
So it's interesting just to think about, even as we're speaking right now, as you and
Hmm.
I are speaking, like there's people that inhabit the everyday, but there's also the people that right now are inhabiting the smokeland
Hmm.
and doing work. They're actually performing. They're doing things in the smokeland right now,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we know from the book like the time or you could say the passage of time in the smokeland or in your meditations or in these you know vibrations are very different
Hmm.
from
Yeah.
the way that we experience time in
Yeah,
the
that's
everyday,
true.
right?
Because she could be gone for a week. No, like in this life, but on the Smokeland, it's like a short
Right,
ride. Was it? Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
they said, like a few minutes could have been a few
Hmm.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another thing that stood out for me was that, you know how Awa was taken away from her family, but the reason why, right? The reason why her mother traveling into the Smokeland was a crime, kind of.
Hmm.
And like in every movie or anything that I see, any magic, have you heard of the Droods? Like any kind of magical thing that have happened in life is always like a crime. The witches were a crime. The magicians were a crime, right? And now the people that drift off to the smokeland were also crime.
Mm.
So her mom was seen as a, criminal by just going out, and that's why the father didn't like her.
Right.
So why do you think maybe all these natural abilities that we are capable of, why are they always appear like a criminal thing?
They say that people fear the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And even more than the unknown, people fear what they don't understand.
Yeah.
So if somebody says, okay, I don't understand this, sometimes there's a fear there,
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary.
Mm-hmm.
I should be wary, This is a little scary. I don't understand. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what's happening. I don't get it,
Yeah.
So if there's something that is beyond the realm of belief or the realm of someone's reality, sometimes they avoid that. They shun it away, or they want to, crack the whip on that, or put it down. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to have it around because it's spooky to them. It's in that realm. So I feel like it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fear that happens when it's like, okay, what's happening here? What? Why
Interesting.
are they able to do something that I don't feel like I'm able to do? Or maybe it's almost invalidating for someone
Mm-hmm.
or someone to see someone in their power doing something that you could do as well, but you don't know that you could do it. You
Wow.
know, so
Yeah.
it's like very intimidating.
It's very interesting because they make kind of like a police for everything, like the smoke walker. What was it? I think her brother and her father was watching over the people that go into smokeland and report them.
Right.
So
Right.
it's someone within your family reporting you.
Right. Right.
That.
So you remember when you told me your father would say that, like he's the one he's the one that named you the prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prophetess. So and there was a reason for that, right? Like he said something about you that made him name you
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
What was that reason?
The reason I used to tell him stories and stuff that he didn't understand where they came from, kind
So
of.
you were
Yeah, I used to
so
talk early. Yeah.
you were the green elder. You were the storyteller, right? You used
Yeah, I
to
was
tell
telling
stories,
stories.
right? Now, was there ever a fear surrounding that from other people? Like, did other people wonder, where are you getting this? How are you knowing this?
Mm-hmm. It was
Where
always
did that,
that question. It was always that question.
right?
Where is she getting it from? Is she seeing something? Or maybe something wrong with the child?
Something wrong with
Mm-hmm.
the child.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you perceive from other people's reactions for what was just coming from you?
It was a mixture. In the beginning when it was just my father, he was admiring that. He liked stories. He used to carry me, like I told you, and I would just tell him stories and stuff. But when I wasn't in his presence, basically, other people would say like, "Oh, who's she talking to? Why did she talk like that? Why?" Like my mother, you used to get these questions about why she looks like a little dwarf or something like that because of the words that I spoke and the way I looked was too different. So they used to think I was a dwarf. And some people would have positive, comments like, "Oh my gosh, she got a big brain," or some people would say like, "Oh, she's talking to the devil," or some people would say like, "There is something in her brain, so you need to take her to her doctors." So it was a lot of different opinions. But the things that I used to say was in adult conversations, kind of.
Right. And
Yeah.
when they used to react to you like that, like there's something wrong with her, she's talking to the devil, she needs to be taken to see somebody. How did you feel about those kind of reactions? What did it make you feel like?
It disabled my skills somehow. It did because my father took it positive and that helped, right? But other people that didn't take it positive and it was always something negative about it, then I shut down those voices. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't, and I didn't say much. But my conversations become internally, if that makes sense. So I talk to myself and I speculate things on my own. That's why I think like everybody else knows what I know. It's because of I'm constantly talking to myself. But yeah, it disabled. It did disable. Like it shut down my channels slowly.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. It sounds like your environment has an effect on your magic.
Of course, a lot. Your environment is almost number one after your mind. Yeah, your mind tells you something all the time. Do this, do that. You can do this, you can do that, you can do this. Whatever, is going on in the mind. And then your environment is a plus. It changes you, it shapes you. Because what you see, what you are breathing in, who you speaking to, like the environment that you're in shapes you. So,
Right.
yeah.
So that reminds me to be what you were just saying is when Yari and Isra were giving Awa the chance to go with the
Mm-hmm.
village, go with the common folk of the people in the village.
Mm-hmm.
They gave her the opportunity to go with them, but odds are very likely that if she was to just go with them, her magic would probably be, discouraged.
Yeah.
Right? She probably would have been discouraged from going into the smokeland, from traveling, from leaving her breath body. She would be discouraged from doing the things that the green elders were teaching her how to do.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
intuitively knew, even though he let her make her own decision,
Mm-hmm.
she knew, okay, this is the better environment for me, you know?
Yeah.
So
I love that you can make that
right.
choice on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it was like he showed her this little shiny, family, laughter and joy, and this little, thing that everybody looked for. And then he's like, hey, if you want to stay here, it's up to you. You can do that. But she knew her mission somehow. There was something within her that she always knew. So, like, going and tagging along with Jerry was the best decision she made, in my opinion.
So have you ever had to make a decision similar to that where you said, okay, this is a better environment than this environment? Like when you were old enough to make the decision to just go out on your own or go to a certain place, had you made a decision like that for yourself?
Yeah, I did actually. Now that you say it, like me moving from Sweden, um, yeah. Did you hear what I said? Like when I moved from Sweden to Norway, that was the decision that I made. So let me say this. For example, the environment that I lived in Sweden, the family that I lived in, that would disable my whole, me, whoever I am today. I wouldn't be that person, right? So after my skills and my abilities and my ways of being as a child was dimmed, when I was 13, something just told me, you need to get out of here, you know? So as a 13-year-old, just going and tagging along with somebody, there was this girl, she was 17, and I went with her on a bus out of the country for the first time, and just being on my own from then, that was my risk. Either I could stay in that environment and become, the person that they will make me into, or I could go in in life itself and just become the person that I'm meant to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you wouldn't even be who you are today had you not made that choice.
No, absolutely not. I'll be completely different person. I talk about that a lot with my cousin. I'm like, if I stayed, who would I be? And she always laugh at me. Because again, you also have to think like I'm a reflector. My environment do really shape me. So I have to run around, like go from places before it shapes me. So before I become a place or before I become a community or culture or something, I have to move away from it because I don't belong to any of it. Does that make sense? I don't have a set of culture. I don't have a set of ways. I don't have a set of, you know?
Hmm.
So if I was molded in one culture and one ways, that wouldn't even describe who I am.
Right.
That wouldn't even that wouldn't even tell my story. You know, that would be waste of just coming here. In a way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what you're saying is so powerful, Nabiha, and there's so many parallels to the story because when you're talking about, that what would shape you,
Mm-hmm.
there was Anzi word that Yari invented for Baal, the shadow warrior.
Mm-hmm.
He invented an Anzi word called Abel Abelzowadyo. Abelzowadyo. And it was a shapeshifter.
Mm-hmm.
Change. It was a word for change.
Mm-hmm.
Had the ability to, whenever she was in a different place or in a different environment, a different circumstance, a different situation, she could shapeshift,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
She could change who she was. She could change how she
Mm-hmm.
was to model or to shape the situation.
Exactly.
So you're
I love that.
so there's a parallel there. Like you're saying your environment would have kind of been that shape shift on you
Mm-hmm.
and would have kind of like it would have molded you into the environment, but you decided you would shape yourself.
No, not in this way, but it's like I do get I'm a shapeshifter like Bao, like that,
Okay.
right? But then if you stay in one place, like let's say like a chameleons, right? If they stay on one rock, they will look like a rock forever,
Right.
right? So instead of like looking like a rock all the time, I need to move from the rock and then go into a plant and then become that plant and then move from that and then, so I need to know my time span on each thing or culture or whatever environment I put myself into. So I am shape shifting. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't want to stay in the shape shifting. I don't want to stay like a rock.
Right.
Does that make sense? I need to move in order for me to stay away from being one. So if I was like in Sweden and I would probably have the same issue like everybody have the food addiction, cravings, like no thinking like, oh, you need to have food and all of those things wasn't programmed in me. I didn't have any family that was telling me those things to program me and force me into that society, right? So I would have become a completely different person. Probably I will be wrestling with this food addictions as well. So that kind of stuff. So I needed to
Okay.
move to find me. So when I was on my own as a 13, there's no way I was cooking something. There's no way somebody was telling me like, hey, it's time to eat or something. Nothing like that. It was just on my own, and I needed to figure out things that adults will tell you, for example, right? I remember getting my first bill when I was 14. I never seen a bill in my life. I've never seen, but I had to figure it out on my own, right? So certain things that people would make you think of it in a different way, you can find your own way of handling it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. When I was at the birthday party in California, some of the adults were asking the children who were like, maybe 10 or 11, they're like, have you started cooking yet? Are you cooking yet? Can you cook? What can you cook? Right? They're asking them, like they're preparing them
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta learn. I'm gonna
Yeah.
teach you. You gotta learn. You're gonna learn today. And so you're saying you weren't doing those things.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nobody was telling me that. Nobody was telling me like, if you don't do this, you're a sinner, for example. Nobody was telling me like, okay, you have to, everything that families, tell you. Like I've been in my sister's house and like I'm an alien. I sit there and I'm fascinated by everything. Like they ask the children every day, did you have anything to eat? Are you going to eat? And I'm like, oh my God, I have kids on my own, but I've never asked them if they ate or not. It's like I will make the food, but then it will be there. I've learned a technique because I didn't have that reminder Since someone is always reminding you, did you eat lunch? Did you eat breakfast? Did you eat this? Did you eat that? That becomes like automatic for you. So you will also remember to remind your children. You just pass on. But since I didn't have that, I didn't have anything to pass on. So then it became a problem. Like, oh my God! So my children, they will starve then if I never remember, right? So then I created a time like this hour. I will just cook this type of food, and then different meals, and then they can choose when it's breakfast, when it's lunch, and whenever, because then I wouldn't have to remember it. So I would just make it one time, and then they will go and just do it. So I never remind them. I never think of like this is the time to eat, because that was an issue for me. That was an issue. Anybody around me, anybody that comes around me, I would never be able to remind you about anything. I would never say like, hey, would you like some food, or would you like some drink? I would never say that. I just don't have that, right? So those kind of programs are missing. So when I'm in my sister's house and I just watch, I feel like I'm an alien. Like the things that are going on, what families do, and those stuff.
Mhm.
It's like it's a program going on.
Wow. That's interesting. That's very interesting because I think Awa felt the same. You know,
Mm-hmm,
she felt like an alien in her own family,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, in fact, she was sold. They sold her. The
Yeah,
father sold her away for the Skyrocks.
yeah,
To take care of the rest of the family. He gave away the best of the family to take care of the rest of the family.
yeah.
Right?
I know. I don't like her father. I don't like her father. Yeah, our what is she's one of my favorite. What do you think of Samina's sister? I don't know how to pronounce her name. Kiri?
Oh yeah,
Kyra?
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Um, and before that, let me just say, because Abby Marie says that's a gift. She was talking about you with your ability to shapeshift.
Um,
She, she said that's a gift. I don't know if you see it that way. Do you see it as a gift?
if I used to see it as a curse, now I see it as a gift. So, so as a curse, meaning I didn't know what to do with myself in the beginning, because I could be in the energy and I'm copying that, I'm reflecting that, and that's not the energy that I want to reflect, right? And I never understood why I was always feeling, everybody's emotions, everybody's feelings, everybody's drama, everybody's whatever. And it was so draining because it was never anything on my own, until I've learned, okay, I just have like this amount of time and I need to get away. So if I see the situation is like when I'm shape shifting, if I don't like the situation, I'll run away. I'm like, okay, bye bye, before I shapeshift. So now I can see it because of I can use this ability to, become something. Like let's say like I want good habits, something that I call good, and I want to practice this. Then I would just be in an environment where everybody's practicing that, and then automatically I will just catch up on it. It's not like something I have to force, but it would just be like, okay, let me just be around people that are doing qigong all day, and then you just see me be in that energy. So yeah, I
I
like
see.
it.
Because like you said before, you're a reflector.
Mhm.
You're a reflector. So
Yeah.
you're like a connector in that you're a reflector. You connect in what other people are doing around you. So it when other people are doing healthy things around you, it can even more efficiently ground you.
Mhm. Mhm. So that I find it very easy, and just finding out that I am a reflector actually helped me as well, because I already had all of these things and I already knew, but then something that explains that you just don't have no energy channels like that. You just you know I this everything is just open. So whatever energy that enters, that's what it is. So it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. That's why I always wrestle with my name. I wrestle with the country I come from, the culture. I don't have anything that I would say like this is mine, because it's every time I leave, I'm not that rock anymore.
Right.
So my culture, if you ask me my culture, I would be so confused, and people think I have like identity issue, but it's not. It's just that I can become just one thing. Once I leave it, I'm not anymore. So I'm always just me. Whatever that is, it's just me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's interesting. Bao she had story for who she was. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like Awa gave Baal another story. She changed the story because she didn't have a story.
Yeah.
You know, they were asking each other, "Hey, what's your story?" "Oh, this is what happened to me." "Hey, what's your story?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she anxious, kind of got a little nervous, a little standoffish because she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like there was no memory there. It was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened was erased. You know, she couldn't embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
So there was an element in the book of like you can change the story. You don't have to stay stuck with that
Mm-hmm.
narrative. You can change it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. It was very fascinating actually when our gay Bal a story. Then she felt she was something, but all along she was something. We know who Bal is, right? You and I know, but she just didn't know who she was, right? And that was disturbing her. Not having a story was disturbing her.
Mm,
And when she was given a story, it was like something big that was given her.
right.
So what do you think of? That made me think of like us. You know, we all carrying a story. Without our story, we think like, oh my God, I'm nobody, and that terrifies us. But the truth is that we are that nobody, right? The truth is that because of this story that we are or claiming to be is something that we just made up through our life. It's just like, you know, it's still building up. We're just still making stories of our life. But the truth is, you're not that story.
Mm,
You're not the story. You are the nobody that's, you know, creating a story for yourself because of you just want that sense of like, you want to make sense of this reality and you want to have like, I don't know what they say, like you want to be zen, whatever, you know, so you got to have a story. So this, our stories are not us, but at the same time, they just give us some sense of security, just like Bal.
okay.
Yeah.
So almost like a coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
can you can utilize your story to kind of shape your
Mm-hmm.
direction. Like to say, okay, if I'm storyless, then you might feel hopeless, you might feel directionless because you don't have a story. Now all of a sudden you make your own story. Okay, now I have a sense of direction. Now I can head this way. I know where I'm heading.
Mm-hmm.
I know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting because I know this is my story.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Abby Marie says, I'm learning that too. We get to decide where we share and receive energy. So it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to move towards vibrations that are lifting us further. I love that.
Yeah. It's life is all about choices. Every moment, every second, you're making a choice. So, you know, if the energy do not align, you can walk away. You can walk away. You don't have to become a victim of everything, you know. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of which, Jola pretty much walked away from the council. In the beginning, Jola was with Azizi, the emperor, in the room
Mm-hmm.
with all the other masters, right? Jola is the one who has an antidote for everything. So they called him the master of poisons.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have the master of water and money and arms and grain and all these masters in this room with all these machinations, right? Everybody has a plan for something. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has team for something. Everyone has a team for something. And
Yeah.
then, Jola stepped out of it. They asked Jola for a solution. And he said, I don't have a solution.
I love that part. Yeah.
Right? There's no solution. And so the emperor was almost like whispering to him, like, you fool, like you should have just
Yeah,
lied,
I
right?
know.
Why didn't
That's
you
the part of my.
why didn't you just make something up? But he was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So he
Yeah.
chose banishment over, you know, over denial.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that chapter. I love that chapter because it tells you again, you know, if you just, some people just want to be lied to, even though they know the truth, they just want to be lied to find that sense of like safety. But it's still you being lied to, right? So I like that he couldn't, you know, he couldn't lie, even though he knew the consequences or whatever that would happen. But again, for Asisi to say like, hey, you should have just lied to me. That was funny to me because I see a lot of that in reality. I see a lot of that in reality. I would be like Joel, I wouldn't lie.
Hmm.
There is no solution in, that illusion sometimes, So yeah, I marked that one too.
Yeah. It it reminds me, when I was at the house in Riverside,
Mm-hmm.
my aunt, she would always tell the children. I would hear this constantly. I was there for like a month, and
Mm-hmm.
the other day I would hear this recurring phrase: "Wash your hands. Make sure to wash your hands." She was telling the youngsters,
Mm.
like, "Wash your hands. People die every day. You don't want germs. You don't want germs. People die every day, right? People die every day from germs. People die every day. Wash your hands. Wash your hands." And then one day she looked at me, and I'm just at the kitchen table, just like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, and so she's like, "Boy, you better tell him, Jerome, tell him. Don't people die every day? People die every day. Wash your hands. People die every day." And I'm like,
People do die every day, but not because of not washing your hands.
I was
People
like,
die.
"Oh my gosh," So it's like the stories that we tell ourselves, we truly believe it, and there could be so much fear wrapped up and surrounding a story, and the more
Mm-hmm.
you're recurring, the more you tell that story over and over again, it gets bigger, it gets bigger, it gets more
Yeah.
powerful. Now it's like you've created a monster in your
Mm.
mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
over time. Yeah.
We program, or we get programmed in the houses, and then we go out in society. Society programs us even more, and that's what we run by. That's what I'm saying. We can't be our stories. It's impossible to be your stories.
Right.
Yeah. Let's say like if our was just a story, her story, her father, her mother, her brothers, and not if she didn't know her mission. The question that she asked, Jari, I can't remember. But there was a question that she asked to just ensure that this was her mission. She's like, can you do this and can you do that and can you do that together? All of that. And then when he said yes, then she knew. And since she was a little, 6 years old or something like that, she knew she wanted to be a smoke walker. So if she lived with her father, how would she turn out?
Right.
How would she turn out? Like when he when he even said to the mother, like, you want to send the boys you want to make my sons a beggar, and she's like, I didn't say that. He's like, I hear the things, like he hears her thoughts. That means that you just making up stuff because of he thinks she said it. It's like, I can hear your thoughts. That's what you were thinking. You want to you want to make my sons into beggar. So that was funny to me, and I always think like, if she stayed with her father, she would completely different person. Even though you know your purpose, the stories around you can really shape you and make you forget like your real purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because the journey is about this, staying true to yourself, and then the stories that we tell ourselves are the ones that making us forget and shape us into someone else. I feel like so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So in your journey right now, what do you feel like is most for you at this current juncture of your journey? What feels right for you to say, I'm staying true to myself? What does that feel like?
What it feels like, I feel like that's what I strive for every day.
Mm,
Just stay true to myself. The more you stay true to yourself, that's the only way you can stay true to the world and anything around you. It's yourself. Like I don't know, but the honesty that you have for yourself is just the honesty that you would have towards the world. So it always starts with yourself.
mhm.
Yeah, so staying true to myself is the most important thing. No matter how it looks like on the outside. Your truth looks so different on the outside.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Uh,
yeah.
it's there's also some other phrases. One was Basawili. He would say that a lot,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
there was the concept of breath. Like, this is not the end, more breath to come.
Yeah.
Basawili. They would use this one word to say that phrase. This is not the end for you. There's more
I love that.
to come. Like there's more things to be done. This is not the end of your story.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy,
You
you know.
like Basawili,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, because you know, there's sometimes in life that you might think like, oh man, like how am I gonna get over this? Or how am I gonna surmount this mountain? How am I gonna overcome this opposition? You see an obstacle, and you
Yeah.
don't really see the opportunity in the obstacle. But,
Yeah.
but you see that there's a wall blocking your path, but it's like Basawili, right? This too shall pass, right?
Yeah, that's what I get. Like this too shall pass. That's the first thing that comes to mind every time they say Basawili.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was this other, I don't know how to pronounce it.
What?
This other word, this dance.
Jalan Jalan?
Yeah. Yeah, that was very interesting that it was something, you know how we always think like there's something we need to learn, something that we need to master, something that we're looking for. But it's like at the end of the day, you just figure out there's something you need to surrender to. So that felt like, he was looking for that throughout the whole book until he realized, okay, this is not something you learn, it's something you surrender to. So have you experienced anything like that in your life that you feel like you were running after and trying to figure out, but it wasn't anything to figure out, it was just like you needed to surrender?
Yes. There's been times where, I've been in a mode of survival or striving and feeling like I'm never arriving, right? And I think it does circle back to the programs that we have adopted through being in our environments or through being in society or through seeing things on television or through seeing things in movies or through thinking that it has to be this way. You know? In order to get there, you have to go here or you have to do this. In order to get that, you have to do this. And so there was a frustration with that kind of boggled information that was within me. It was like Jumba Jabba, right? Jumba
Yeah.
Jabba, right? It was just gobbledygook. It was Jabba within me. And I had to just let all of that go. But the only way that things started to flow was when I finally let go. So it was in that surrender, ironically, in a way, it was a paradox.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't say it better. It is just that, sometimes whatever you're chasing, and then you realize, oh my God, like during my meditations, the only thing I come to conclusion is like, it's all here. Like it's all here. Whatever you're looking for on the outside, whatever you're trying to reach, it's here. Can you find it here? So that's what that reminded me of. And then you had this, empire illusions and stuff. That reminded me of, our government, whatever, whatever that's going on. But yeah. What about your notes?
Oh, I have so many.
Yeah,
I mean, what?
Me too. I haven't even gone
You
through.
still got time? You still got time?
Yeah, I have a little time.
A little bit?
Bring me yours, and then we can discuss yours for a little bit.
Okay, let's see. So, finding new families. There was a theme around finding new families of them. There were other themes. We talked about how people inhabit the everyday, but people also inhabit the smokelands. So there's things that are going on. There's more than meets the eye, They say our realm of perception, with the visible eye, we can only see a little bit on the spectrum. But then when we beyond it, when we go into like the smokeland territory, you see all the possibilities. You see the maybe nots, the what ifs, You see everything. And it was magical, just the prose of the writing. Andrea Hairston is like poetry, but it also felt like an oral tradition. And I know you were telling me in Africa, they're big on oral traditions. So they're passing things like mouth to mouth, not necessarily on the paper, but through the person. So that's what it felt like to read this book, it felt like you were sitting around a campfire and somebody was telling you this, you
Yeah.
know, not
Yeah.
like you were just reading this. It felt like you were actually listening to somebody talking. Like,
And you can't
describe.
skip one page.
Go ahead.
I said you can't even skip one page.
No,
I normally, scan through it, but if I skip one page, it was like I have to go back.
you missed everything. If you skip one page, you missed it all, right?
No. Oh, I know. That was challenging to me because you know how I read sometimes I scan through it.
Right.
And I've tried with a couple of pages here, and I'm like, I have to go back again. It just takes me back because I get lost. If I miss one page, I get lost. So yeah, continue.
So that got me too. That really slapped me in the face when I opened the book. I was like, okay, this is something that you like. I'm gonna have to slowly digest. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it bite by bite. I'm gonna have to taste it. I'm gonna have to savor the flavor. I can't just scarf it down. I can't just rush through this because there's a lot. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
there was a lot on the plate
Yeah.
when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh yeah. So the question of what is truth, that was a theme in the book. What is truth? And then there was also this underlining theme of how people can convince themselves of anything.
Yeah.
And that's the case as well, because I realized, for the better part of my life, I had convinced myself of so many things that when I was smacked with that reality of actually what you thought was what it was, it isn't.
I know.
That was scary, That was scary to come to face with that reality of everything you think you know could be wrong.
Yeah, that's what Jared said. I remember. He said
They,
that.
they said that, right?
He said everything you think you know could be wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
It could all be wrong.
Oh. But
All of
everything, the word everything was like, what? But it's the truth. It's the truth. I like his phrases, what he says.
Right.
It's the
Right.
truth. Yeah.
So it's like, can you come to grips with that? Like, can you embrace that everything could be wrong? Everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a big one. Then how stories are magical. Stories could be powerful tools to change the future, and how nature has its own personality. I love the chapters where it talks about the river, like the Amethyst River, and this horse and that elephant and this dog, and that the nature had a personality, the animals had a personality, the bees had personality, everything had its own, it wasn't didn't just revolve around the humans.
No.
Nature had a say. Nature always had its way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were going after a storm. So yeah, nature had its way. This book, it was a lot about the climate for sure, and also the elephants, where when Jola was once telling the elephant in his language, like maybe the elephant would understand that old language. So yeah, everything had a personality, and it reminds me of this reality. Really, we just don't see it like that. We don't view it like that, but it is that way.
Right.
Yeah.
It reminds. You remember when you were at that store in the Beehive, and you saw like three. I think they were like dire wolves. They were wolves.
Yes. They look like wolves. The dogs that look,
I mean,
it's like 5, 6 of them.
wolves to me, they look like wolves, right?
Yeah.
But they were out there. Maybe they were huskies or some other dog, but they looked straight up like wolves.
They were wild.
3 of them, right? It was like 3 of them.
No, they were like more than 5.
It was 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
more than 5. I counted 5, but the other one ran away.
And they were out there in the open. They were running across the parking lot, right? And there was one lady on video that was like, ah, like, she kept screaming, right? Like, why was she screaming? The dogs weren't even harming her. They weren't doing anything to her, but she was screaming at the top of her lungs. Why?
Yeah. Wow. So I saw these dogs while I was driving, and I saw them way from the freeway,
Yeah.
and then I just followed them. So I assumed they went there. So I get there before they came, and that's when they run into that parking lot.
Right.
So it was like straight, like, 10 wolves, running towards you. And then this lady just came from a restaurant with her food. So she was getting to her car, and they all surrounded her. And she's like, ah! She started screaming, and she started running. And the dog just started following her. So she dropped her food. She dropped everything. And I'm like, it's just a dog. But she walked into the store, but they just wanted food and water. That's all they wanted. But yeah, because of she was scared of dogs, I think, or she was terrified.
But when you saw them, you didn't immediately think, oh, panic, like they're about to attack.
No, I was thinking they lost where they're home at. Yeah, I was trying to help them in that way. But no, I didn't think they were wild. They were wild. You could see that they're wild, that nobody owns them actually. When you come closer, you could see it.
And hear what you just said, Nabiha. Nobody owns them,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Where is their home? Nobody owns them.
Just like the elders, right? Everywhere is their home.
Everywhere,
Hmm.
anywhere.
Yeah. I can relate to the elders on that one. Anywhere is my home. Wherever you make
Right?
home, wherever you go, like I said, you always have you with you. It's you who make the home. Yeah.
You, people would say that if they see a stray dog,
Hmm.
right? A stray with no collar.
Hmm.
Who is this dog? Where is your home?
Oh,
Nobody owns them, right?
yeah.
They're just out. But people are concerned, oh, I need to return this dog. A reward.
Yeah.
You see a reward for the dog.
Yeah.
I need to go grab this dog and find the owner so I can take him back. I remember somebody pulled up to me. He said, hey, have you seen a Rottweiler and a pit bull out here? He said, mine free. Mine got free. I said, no,
They
I
need to be
I
free.
haven't seen him. I haven't seen him. He said, all right, well, let me know if you see anything. And he pulled off. And those words, those three words kept replaying in my mind over and over again. Mine got free.
Mm.
Mine got free. And that sounded to me, the way he said it was like they were in captivity,
They are.
but some free. And then
They are.
me think to all the times that I've had dogs and I've had pets, I've had animals, and when they've run away, you know what I mean? So it was like, wow, if they would have been given a choice, would they have chosen a life
Mm-hmm.
of captivity?
Mm-mm.
Had been given a choice. Then you think about the green elders, like you said, these nomadic people that are going from place to place, but everybody else, to them, these are weird people.
Mm-hmm.
They have no
Yep.
home. They're wild. So you bring that to mind when you talk about that, you know?
Yeah.
These,
Yeah. Can you still hear me? Yeah, Mickey's calling me. It's time
oh,
for me to pick him up. But yeah, I can. Yeah, that's why I don't have no pets. Will they freely choose to be captivated? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I like how in Africa, how they, I don't know if it's all Africa, but at least, where my mom and everybody lives, how they treat dogs. Like it's stray dogs, they have no, but the dogs will, negotiate with you, for example. They become your friend. They watch your yard or something. They be there. And then in return, you give them some food. But they never belong to you. It's just a neighbor's dog. The neighborhood, has, these dogs. And people just feed them. Maybe this dog that's with you will serve the other neighbor next day to get their earnings, whatever they need. So I feel like they are in their natural way, or working in their natural ways. And they are, talking and with, not talking necessarily, but, sharing experience with human beings while they are dogs and not slaves. Yeah, yeah. They can find somewhere to poop instead of you picking up and like taking a little bag, and it's it's not cool. The dogs, how they are treated, I don't like it. Let them be free, you know. Let them come and go when they need to. Let them, you know, be in a different places in the neighborhood. But then we call them dangerous. They're not dangerous in Africa.
Hmm.
Every dog knows his place. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. If you gotta go, I won't hold you.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Mickey up. But this was great. We have how many other books to talk about in this book only? We can continue. I really, I have a lot of notes here.
Yeah, I'd love to. Love
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
let's do that. And thank you. This was great.
Oh,
Maybe next time I sit in a better place. I don't even see myself. I don't see. I'm just talking because my phone is still dark. But much love to you.
much love.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.